During this time here, we're going to focus on negotiations. First, from the listing side, in the current climate of the market right now, there's obviously context there. It gets different as markets change. So when we're the listing agent, when we're representing our seller's best interest, there's probably 3 or 4 different types of offers that are going to come in, right? There's one scenario where you've got multiple offers and the strategies about driving up those offers so that you can get the best terms, the best price for your client. We're going to put that to the side. We're not going to talk about that. If you get an offer that's everything your client wants, there's really no need to negotiate it, and negotiating it would be a bigger risk than just moving forward with it as is. Then it's pretty straightforward. You're going to go sign the deal and move forward. You get a perfect offer. So we're going to put that to the side. All right. Now, in the scenario that we're seeing, and particularly right now, as the market starts to naturally slow down second half of the year, real estate seasonal, you have a longer decision-making process from buyers in the summer than the ones who are rapid fire in the spring. And so you're getting a couple different types of offers on listings right now. One of those, just an offer that's really far away from where you want, or you get an offer where it's like the buyer's kind of close, it's not acceptable, you don't have other leverage, and you need to get that buyer up. So when we present this to the seller first, hey, we've got an offer. Good news is we have an offer. The other side of this is we don't have the offer to the point where we want to accept it at this particular time. It's not where you want to end up on net. It's not your terms and conditions, whatever. We have an offer. That's the good news. Couple things can happen there. We can go out to other interested parties and try to engage to get a second offer, or scenario number 2, we can negotiate with this offer. Since we have an offer on the table, we really have 2 strategies we can use to negotiate, okay? We can dig in deeper, try to wear them out through negotiation where they eventually come up. Or scenario number 2, we can basically freeze them out. The risk of freezing them out is that they get fed up with not hearing from us and they go negotiate on other properties. So the power position is on a freeze out, like, you're nowhere close. We basically don't respond. We use that time to go look at other offers. Okay, we only want to do that when we only want our deal and we, with our clients, are completely clear on the risk of losing it. Maybe we only want them to come up to our terms, or we only want them as a backup scenario, meaning we're going and vetting out other offers. So we're on the list side, and we've got an agent who presented an offer, and you just got an offer, right, Owen? And it was way lower than where you wanted them to be. The buyer agent presented it, and
He came through me.
Came through you. Okay, so let's just take the scenario. Buyer agent presents you the offer. It's way off from where you want to be. That buyer agent, if they're worth anything, they're going to make a call to that listing agent, present the offer, and have a discussion about why they're coming in where they're at. They're probably going to use a weak argument like comps, and a strong argument would be process, but they're probably going to lean into a weak argument. Hey, the comps say this, the comps say that, this is where they're at. And they're going to present their offer, and they're going to want you to go back to your clients and try to work them down as if that's your job, and come back to them with either matching their offer or some better offer. All right. How we respond to that offer, again, are we taking the path of trying to wear them down to get up to where we want to be, or are we taking the path where we're going to basically kind of strong arm the negotiation, freeze them out? There's strategy behind that. Let's take the approach that the seller's like, we haven't gotten an offer. I want to work with this offer. I want to get this offer up. So what can we do in terms of negotiation? This is where we make our money. How strong can we be on the negotiation side, the collaborative side, the working with the buyer agent side, to get them to where we need them to be, okay? So when we ask that buyer agent questions, we want to use how and what questions. Similar to when we're fact-finding with anybody. How does this look? What would it look like if you did this? How and what questions to dig deeper. Make the other side think. Make the other side articulate what their strategy is. Now, there's 2 things to keep in mind. How the other side responds is more important than the actual answer they give us. If I were to say to you, Owen, how did you guys come up with that number? And you immediately respond is, they're not going to pay a penny more than that. Okay, well, you really have shown me that at this point in the negotiation, you have no room. You're stuck on this number. It sounds very emotional. It was a rapid response. As opposed to somebody who says, hey, here's how we came up with it. We reviewed these 3 last transactions. I actually talked to those listing agents, how much activity they had. And then once we found out kind of like where they were getting most of the activity, it was pretty limited. So there's not a lot of competition out there. How those numbers came on and the days on market. Me and my client sat down. He's a very thoughtful buyer. And this is how we came to this number as a starting point. Okay, cool. All right. They've actually thought it through and they feel like they're coming in at a good starting point. I can start to work with that type of a process, right? We're not getting somebody who's emotional, strong arm. They're only a take it or leave it buyer. This is somebody who's actually being thoughtful about the process. If they spent that much time, they want the property. If they didn't spend any time, there's rapid firing offers out there to see if they can steal a property. Are they a real buyer? Do they really want the property? So that's a really good question. Now, I may say as a listing agent, like, hey, thanks for walking me through that. What does that look like for my seller? Could you put that into some type of document that you'd give me permission to share with my seller so that, hey, my job's to go back to the seller and articulate this. Now, I can say it how you said it, and some things might get lost in translation. But if you give me a document that shows the proof of how thoughtful you guys are being, I have a real starting point, not just a number on a fill-in-the-blank contract. But I've got a starting point that you guys have a process, and now we're going to be thoughtful in our response. We're here to work together. I'd love to work this deal with you. Obviously, we want the end result. We want to get our clients to the closing table. You want your buyers to get the house. I want my sellers to get the money. They want the money. Your buyers want the house. Let's figure out how to make this work. If you can give me a tool that'll be useful in the conversation that I have when I sit down with my seller and walk them through your buyer's line of thinking, that's going to be very helpful. So how they respond tells me a lot about where they're at in the negotiation. Here are some how and what questions, okay? Hey, how do I know if we end up doing this deal that you guys are going to follow through? Make them articulate it. Like, how do I know that they're going to follow through? Once they explain it, what does that look like? Am I just telling them that you're calling for the inspection, or can you at least give me a timeline? Can you email me a timeline that I can share with them? How do I know you're going to follow through? What does it look like? If my seller is coming down on price and there's uncertainty on how they're going to follow through, that's a pretty weak offer that we're accepting. If we're moving down and moving closer towards your number, but we have a lot of certainty in the process of how they're going to follow through, that they actually have a process, we can see what it looks like, then we've got a stronger buyer. At least it might not be exactly the number that we want, but we know we're getting to the closing table, or we have at least a lot more certainty. What is the process on your end if we agree? That question, another how, what question. What is the process on your end if we agree? Walk me through the process. This, again, gets them to think. Maybe you're buying yourself time to try to vet out another offer by asking them, hey, what is the process on your end if we agree? Well, I think it's going to be this and this. Hey, can you go clean that up with your side? Present that to me so I have something a little bit more concrete to present to my seller than we think we're going to go and do this. If I'm going to get any chance of getting my seller to move on this deal, on this number, the more proof, the more bullets you can give me, the better chance we're going to have at coming to an agreement. Okay, so what is the process on your end if we agree? Start putting that buyer agent into a place mentally that, hey, we could find common ground on an agreement. If I'm negotiating where I'm like, nope, that's never going to happen, well, that buyer doesn't even want to talk to you anymore. It's like, I need to go just find my buyer a new property, okay? Hey, what's the process on your end if we can get to an agreement? How am I supposed to get my client on board? Can that buyer agent even articulate the reasons why, how I'm supposed to get my client on board? Okay, so if we actually want to engage and work them up, we want to ask how, what questions, digging for more information, getting actual plans. A purchase and sale contract's not a plan. It's a fill-in-the-blank contract. What other assets can you provide to show me what the process looks like, to show me the follow-through, to give me information on how I can get my client on board? if we want to make the deal in the end, our seller's like, I've been on the market 45 days. I want to sell the property. I want to make a deal. This is the only offer. We need to work it up so that I can make a deal. So I want to do the wear them out strategy, how and what questions if I want to make a deal. If I don't really want the deal, or I only want it on my terms, or I only want the offer as a potential backup, then I would go with, hey, let's freeze them out. We've got this offer. They know that I've received it. And Mr. Seller, the strategy is I'm just not going to respond for like 48 hours. That's going to be on me and the buyer agent to work out later. It's obviously not great communication skills, and the buyer agent's going to get frustrated. And one of two things is going to happen if I freeze them out. They're going to walk away and they were only serious at their number and we were never interested at their number, and we know that. Or number two, they're going to start negotiating against themselves and come crawling back with a better offer. Hey, why haven't you responded? If in 36 hours I'm getting a lot of like, hey, do you have a response? Like, hey, can you? Now I could say, how am I supposed to get my client on board? Can you rework the deal and come back? Right? The longer I freeze them out and the more they're communicating, the more leverage we have because we know they're still interested.